Hachana l'Shabbat, preparing for Shabbat. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the details related to the Kavod Shabbat, the mitzvah of Kavod Shabbat as expressed through Hachana, preparing for Shabbat. As we discussed in class, Kavod Shabbat is mostly viewed as the things that you do before Shabbat in order to prepare for Shabbat. Oneg Shabbat are the things that you do on Shabbat to enjoy Shabbat. So we're going to look at some of the details related specifically to this aspect of Kavod. Please pay close attention. Please take notes. Because you will eventually be quizzed on all of this. All right, here we go. So we begin by, as we did at the beginning of learning halacha, as we always want to look in the Torah, the Pesukim in the Torah, see what they have to tell us. So the Pesukim, in which give us the source for preparing for Shabbat, come from the 16th paragraph of Shemot, and they talk about the man. And two Pesukim specifically stand out. V'hayo b'yom hashishi, it was on the sixth day. V'hachinu et asher yaviu. And when they prepared that which they brought into the house, meaning of the man, it was double the amount that they gathered on a regular basis. Okay, so the man was double on Friday, as we know. And it also mentions the following, in terms of the timing when they gathered it. They gathered it in the morning. Generally, the double lashon either means that it was done consistently in the morning or very early in the morning. This is again on Erev Shabbat. Ish lefi achlo v'chama shemesh v'namas. Actually, I don't know if it was Erev Shabbat. It was probably all the time. Either way, each person, as much as they needed to eat, v'chama shemesh, and the sun warmed it up, v'namas, and it all melted. Either way, we see it was boker was early in the morning. So what can we learn from these psukim about the time to prepare for Shabbat? Because again, gathering the man was the aspect of preparing the man for food, having food for Shabbat. So what can we learn from the man in terms of Shabbos preparation? So the Gemara actually looks at these psukim and tells us the following. This is a Gemara in Mesechet Shabbat, Daf Kuf Yud Zayin Amud Bet. Amar Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda said, "La'olam yashkim adam lotzat Shabbat." A person should get up early and start preparing for Shabbat early. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, "V'haya bayom hashishi v'achinu et asher yaviu." They prepared that which they brought into the house. So the way Rav Chisda learned it is la'alter, means right away. I didn't add that here. They prepared which they brought. I should have added in the translation, which means right away. I think it's the double lashon here. They prepared at asher yaviu. Right when they brought it in, yaviu, they prepared right away. So as Rashi tells us, b'shad havach, right when it came into the house, they prepared. And when did they bring it into the house? B'hashkama, in the early Dichtiv, as the pasuk says, boker. They gathered it in the morning. So we take these two things together. A, they prepared right when it came into the house, and B, we know they gathered them on early in the morning. So that tells you that they did the Shabbos preparations very early in the morning on Erev Shabbat. And according to this, the Gemara tells us, Rav Chisda tells us that you should start your Shabbos prep as early as possible on Friday. And the question we still have to ask ourselves is, well, does this apply to all Shabbos preparation? Is all preparation that has to be done before Shabbat as early as possible on Shabbat, or is it only preparing the food? So let's take a look now at another source. Okay, and here the Shulchan Aruch tells us the following. Pashudhu dechol dvrim elu rachitza v'chitu tzibronai v'giluach. All right, all the things, other things. Sorry about that. It's obvious that other things that are mentioned, like rachitza, washing and cutting your nails and shaving, tovi oter lasot achar chatzot. It's better to do it after midday on Friday. It's more obvious that you're doing it for Kavod Shabbat. Things like preparing food, that's, that you're going to eat the next day. So that's obviously, if you're preparing food, you're preparing food. But what about the idea of, the aspect of, getting dressed and bathing and showering, whatever it is, and putting on your nice clothing and cutting your nails, all that kind of stuff? That all should be done much closer to Shabbat, because that's not about necessarily preparing in terms of getting something ready for Shabbat, but that's about you acting in a way where, hey, the Shabbat is coming, to give it some extra respect, and that actually works better if it's closer to Shabbat. So now we end up with a split. Things like preparing food that are not about, hey, look at me, I'm doing something, I'm acting myself special for Shabbat, I'm dressing myself up special for Shabbat. I just need to get something done by Shabbat, like food, so that should be done as early as possible. Any type of shopping, you're setting the lights, setting the table, making the bed. Well, I don't know making the beds, but all this other stuff where you're preparing for the meal, that should be done maybe as early as possible on Friday. But things that are really just about, doing something, acting in a special way for Shabbat, so that should need to be done as close to Shabbat as possible. So showering, shaving, getting dressed, all that kind of stuff should be done at least after midday. But of course, imasak kodem chatzot gam keim tov. Okay, if you do it after chatzot, before chatzot, it's fine too. Okay, anything you do in Erev Shabbat, it's for Shabbos, but it's better to do it closer to when Shabbos starts. So if you're ever at home and your parents are saying, "Oh, you need to take a shower, you need to get moving," you say, but the closer I do it to Shabbos, the better. But don't tell them I said that. Okay, and there's just a statement here from the Orach Chaim, who says the following. That there's no time during the week that is holy like this time, like Erev Shabbat after Chatzot. At this time, the extra light and holiness in a person's body can be sensed. Again, if you want it like a little more mystical, more spiritual approach to why after Chatzot, the closer you get to Shabbat, the more your body, so to speak, radiates with this Kedusha, with this holiness. Again, if this is an idea that you can connect to, and whatever this means. But at the end of the day, that's also part of this whole equation. Now, what about the following? Who should be doing the preparing? So we discussed this in class once already. We look is an interesting Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, which actually goes ahead and discusses certain Amoraim, what they did in Erev Shabbat. Rav Safar would roast the head of an animal. Rav assaulted a fish. Rav Huna lit lamps. Rav Papa spun the wicks. Rav Chisda cut the beets. Why? It's a greater mitzvah to do something yourself than through an agent. The phrase here, mitzvah bo, you need to know this phrase. Mitzvah bo, it's better to do a mitzvah bo with you yourself. Yoter, better with an agent, from a messenger, having someone go ahead and do it for you. And one of the examples here is this Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, which all these rabbis, these great rabbis, said, listen, it's you'll discuss the reason for this in a second, why this is so significant, especially when it comes to Shabbat. This actually comes up in Masechet Kedushin, and we're going to be learning this Gemara very soon in class, relating to, is it better for someone to man or woman to Mekadesh or accept a Kedushin through a Shliach, or better to do it on their own? Okay, so spoiler alert, it's better to do it on your own, as you can see from here, and let's move on. Why is it better to prepare for Shabbat on your own? So the Shulchan Aruch provides the rationale for us. From this Gemara, everyone should learn not to say, I won't muddy my honor, right? Because it is your honor to honor Shabbat. Okay, don't say I'm not going to muddy my honor. It's not respectful for me. I'm an honorable person, right? Someone who's very rich and has other people take care of things for them, right? You don't say, this is beneath my dignity. No, preparing for Shabbat, no matter what the task is kavod Shabbat, and that kavod Shabbat is actually kavod to you. And now we'll just go through a couple of, in a very, very basic and generic way, because these halachot are not as detailed. Some of the things you should be doing at Erev Shabbat. So Shulchan Aruch tells you it's a mitzvah to bathe, mitzvah l'rchotz, haga, which means hagot harama, the additions of the Ramah. Just so you know, and we'll discuss this. We'll learn about this or talk about these people and their contributions as the year goes on. The Shulchan Aruch written by Rav Yosef Karo, the Ramah, which stands for, it's really Reish Mem Aleph Ramah, which stands for Rav Moshe Isserlis. We'll discuss that later. Rav Moshe Isserlis took the Shulchan Aruch, again, which is a collection of laws written by Rav Yosef Karo, who himself was Sephardic, and added sometimes where either the Ashkenazic custom differed, or where there were just some things that needed to be added because the Shulchan Aruch didn't completely explain things. So, for example, here, again, Shulchan Aruch, Rav Yosef Karo writes, mitzvah l'rchotz, it's a mitzvah to wash, an Erev Shabbat to shower. Ramah writes, kol gufo, it's your whole body. At least wash your hands and feet and face with specifically with warm water. We discussed that in class, how warm water is considered to be a little more luxurious, and even if necessarily you don't necessarily, and also actually, it's true that it also probably cleans better. So even if you yourself don't love hot showers and prefer like either lukewarm or even cold showers, it probably is a good idea to shower a little bit in hot water before Shabbat, because again, as you pointed out, kavod Shabbat, honoring Shabbat, is not necessarily subjective; it's more objective as opposed to owning Shabbat. This is not part of owning, which is enjoying Shabbat, because this is before Shabbat. And if it's more kavod with hot water, you should use hot water. Similarly, Shulchan Aruch also writes, mitzvah lachof rosh v'laglech tzipornayim b'erev Shabbat. You should. It's a mitzvah to brush your hair and to cut your nails on Erev Shabbat. And Ramah adds, if your hair is too long, you should cut it. Doesn't mean the Shulchan Aruch would disagree with that. The Ramah is just adding another possible application of what you could be doing in Erev Shabbat. So again, if you have to get a haircut and it's Tuesday or Wednesday and we could wait. It's good to wait for Shabbat to do it after Chatzot. That way it's more noticeable that it's kavod Shabbat. And again, if you can't wait till after Chatzot, then do it at least on Friday. Okay, continuing, we know we're supposed to have nicer clothing for Shabbat. Shulchan Aruch, bigadim na'im, nicer clothing. That's clear, again, the idea of, as we discussed, treating Shabbat like it's something special, almost like it's a special guest coming in. We add to that cleaning the house. Shulchan Aruch talks about setting the table, making the beds, making the house look nice. Notice this yitzakein kol inyane habayit. You should take care of all the needs inside the house. So again, the Shulchan Aruch is as he's pointing out is that not everything is objectively defined. Here are the things that are kavod Shabbat, and after that it's whatever, nothing else. No, anything has to be done in the house. The house should look nice. Rama adds, Shulchan Aruch kol yom Shabbat. You should try to leave the table set the entire Shabbos. V'chein haminhag ve'ein lishnoi. This is the minhag, and it should not be changed. I think if the Rama adds it should not be changed, there probably were people around his time who stopped doing this, and the Rama was very adamant that the table in some way should be set the entire Shabbos. I guess once you finish eating, instead of clearing the table, kind of like maybe take the dishes off, keep it, maybe like leave some food out on the table, some drinks, some cups out on the table, some food if anyone wants to come back and eat. It's just a way of keeping the table looking nice. Leave the flowers on the table and the tablecloth on the entire day to fulfill this mitzvah according to the Rama. Mishnah Berurah adds something interesting, which is when you're purchasing things before Shabbat. This is from the Mishnah. The Mishnah Berurah is a commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, where he takes the things of Shulchan Aruch and the Rama say and just adds either other opinions, cases that haven't come up before, new halachot. Here he adds the following: Yoter tov. One second, where is it here? I have to forget the Hebrew. Oh, here it is. V'tov sheyamar kol davar shakona. It's good to say every time you purchase something, Zehu l'kavod Shabbat. This is l'kavod Shabbat. Ki adibru pol harbe b'kedusha. Because speech is very effective when it comes to kedusha. Meaning, on a spiritual, mystical level, you might say, well, what does that mean? Speech brings about kedusha. But if you think about it, it's much more effective when you actually state, I'm doing this for a holy purpose. It kind of affects you when you say something like that out loud. It makes you feel like I'm really doing this for the right reasons. It might inspire you a little bit more, make it more meaningful to you. So the Mishnah Berurah adds, if you're just going to buy something for Shabbat, which is sometimes an act which is not necessarily special, because I always buy food, I go shop. So if I'm buying something for Shabbat, it doesn't feel special. Say, right, I'm doing this l'kavod Shabbat, and that makes it a lot more effective in terms of how it affects you. Mishnah Berurah similarly adds that you're supposed to taste all the food in Erev Shabbat. So the Mishnah Berurah writes to be able to adjust it properly, meaning if you have to add salt, if you have to add flavor, whatever it is, to make sure that it's totally cooked. The Shar Tzion, though, adds that in the Sefer Shulchan Shlomo, the Shar Tzion also is a commentary on the Mishnah Berurah. I'm sorry, also on the Shulchan Aruch, my mistake. He adds in the Sefer Shulchan Shlomo, it says that tasting itself is the mitzvah. Shar Tzion, I think I'm wrong. Shar Tzion actually is commentary on the Mishnah Berurah, and again, it says that the tasting itself is mitzvah. It's not just I'm tasting food so that I can make sure that the food is going to be good on Shabbat, but somehow tasting the food itself is the mitzvah. Even if I know the food is totally good and it tastes well, for example, I'm the one cooking the food, so I want to make sure it has enough salt. I taste it. Oh, it's perfect. That doesn't need any salt. I still might say, hey guys, come in here and taste some of the fish, some of the soup. Taste some of the meat before Shabbos. That itself is a mitzvah. Again, this idea of getting yourself excited and ready for Shabbat, and kind of almost beginning Shabbos when it's early by eating some of the food. Okay, so we've discussed again a little bit about preparing food in Erev Shabbat. We talked about preparing yourself in Erev Shabbat and the difference before Chatzot, after Chatzot, as early as possible. We talked about having the house ready for Shabbat. We talked about being more explicit and talking about the fact and mentioning the fact that Shabbat is coming and getting excited about Shabbat by tasting the food. And now we get into things that we don't do on Friday in order to prepare for Shabbat. So in Halacha we see three major things that are mentioned. The first is eating a big meal. The Gemara Masechet Pesachim tells us, Lo yochel adam ba'arvei Shabbatot ve'yamim tovim mincha l'mala. From mincha and on, we'll discuss that in class, what it means from mincha and on. A person should not eat on Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tov. Kadei shekanes l'Shabbat k'shutava. So you should enter Shabbat when you're hungry. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, right? So you should be excited to eat. You want to look forward to the food. My general rule is that any day that I have a barbecue, I try to eat as little as possible because I really, really love barbecues. Who doesn't? Except for vegetarians. Sorry, vegetarians, if you're listening. And so I don't eat anything because I really, really want to just enjoy the food as much as possible. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Ochel b'holei chad shetach. Okay, Rabbi Yossi adds that you can eat until nightfall, but we generally follow the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that we don't eat on Erev Shabbat. It doesn't mean you're not supposed to eat anything from mincha ulamal sometime in the afternoon. Rather, what it means is, as the Shulchan Aruch adds, you shouldn't plan a meal kvoa be'erev Shabbat Su'udah that you don't normally eat during the week. So if you normally eat lunch at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock on every day, so you can do that on Friday, but at 3 o'clock, don't sit down for you could snack, right? But he also adds to eat without having a planned meal. Even a meal you normally eat during the week is really permitted, but it's better not to from the late in the day and on. So let's say normally during the week, I eat dinner at 5 o'clock, and Shabbos starts at 8. So don't eat dinner at 5 o'clock. Save yourself. If normally I eat at 1 o'clock, I eat lunch at 1 o'clock, and Shabbos is early at 4:30. So it's better not to eat at 1 o'clock too. If you're hungry, you should eat. That's not asur. What's asur though would be if I normally eat lunch at 1 o'clock and then I don't eat dinner until 8 o'clock, and Shabbos starts at 4 or 5, sitting down to like eating some serious amount of food right before Shabbos, because that itself kind of takes away your appetite before Shabbos. That's one thing you're not supposed to do in Erev Shabbat, l'chavod Shabbat. The second thing is traveling. Shulchan Aruch adds you shouldn't travel more than 3 parsot. That's a length that I'm not going to get into right now. So that you can return home with enough time to prepare for Shabbos. Obviously, nowadays travel is different. So the point is, you should find a distance that you travel that you should make sure that you're home in time for Shabbat. And he adds, not so you get home in time so that you're not driving on Shabbat. You should get home in time that you can prepare the Shabbat. You can get Shabbos moving. You should actually prepare for Shabbos, not just to get home in time so you can just hop in the shower for 5 seconds. Again, nowadays things are different. Not everybody has the ability to just leave work whenever they want or take a day off or whatever it is, or you make sure they're home in time to actually do stuff for Shabbos. But you should do your best in order to do that. And finally, we have doing work on Erev Shabbat. So the Shulchan Aruch writes, one who does work on Erev Shabbat will never see anything good come of it. Some say this is Mincha Gedola, some say this is Mincha Katana. The question is, right, at what point exactly in Erev Shabbat are we talking about? Okay, the Ramah adds, this is if it's regular planned work, but if it's just on the spot and it's not regular, it's okay. I mean, a person shouldn't plan. Okay, every Erev Shabbat I'm going to do, I'm going to be building. Let's say you're building a deck, right? So you shouldn't say, okay, every Friday at 4 o'clock. I'm gonna start working on the deck. That's not a good idea. You need to plan work like that. Again, if you go to work and it's your parnas and you have a job and you can't leave early, that's something else. But to plan to do like some specific, hard labor or work that's going to distract you, sometime in the afternoon, depending if it's Mincha Gadol, Mincha Gatan, we'll discuss in class on Erev Shabbos, you really shouldn't do, as mentioned in the Shulchan Aruch. Again, nowadays, work is a little bit different, but either way, the value is still there. Okay, that's basically it. We went through a bunch of things about preparing for Shabbat, and I hope you got something out of this to be continued.